I think the biggest differences really come from the way they approach regulation, you know. So in more mature financial centres such as like New York and London, they're much more sort of principle focused and principle based in terms of their regulation. You know, they're much more onto market integrity and looking at market conduct. You know, you've got transparency frameworks such as like MiFID II. Whereas sort of in financial centres such as like Singapore and Hong Kong, they're much more rules-based in terms of their approach to regulation. And I think the main challenge that really faces these brokers, you know, global brokers, is that the markets are global. So like one Forex trade could cross multiple borders. It could go into different jurisdictions, and each jurisdiction is going to have like its own reporting obligations. They're going to have different interpretations of sort of like best execution, and trying to get this sort of consistency in compliance obligations is going to be very tricky, and it is one of the biggest challenges that they face. Yeah, I think, look, the risks that most traders are aware of are the obvious ones, you know, behavioural, so it's sort of like the over leveraging, poor risk management, and things like that into like the execution of trades that leads to losses which could be avoided, like so that lead to avoidable losses. But I think traders especially, they overlook some of the more operational risks that are that they're exposed to. I think many of them underestimate the sort of counterparty and liquidity risks. Like, you know, they think that all brokers offer the same equal execution. They think all liquidity providers are equal, when in fact there can be very big differences across these. And also the sort of like the technological infrastructure risks that they face as well. You know, like different platforms, they could experience outages. So that platforms are down and then they're exposed to the market. You know, if you're in a position and all of a sudden your platform goes down, you're exposed to the market and you're unable to act upon that. So being aware of sort of the infrastructure risks that are available or that are posed to you as a trader as well is vitally important to be aware of. And another thing is obviously like, so not all traders use onshore brokers. They go to offshore brokers, and they're not fully aware of the regulatory risks that exposes to them as well, and where their money and their assets are not quite as protected, and their execution is not quite as protected as using sort of like one of the regulated, a broker that is regulated for one of the sort of like reputable bodies. You know, here at VT Markets, we place trading security at the core of our business. You know, we have a multi-layered security strategy which adopts and combines financial protection alongside real-time monitoring, which then sort of safeguards clients' funds and their data. We have segregated client accounts. We have funds insurance up to $1 million to make sure that all of our clients' capital is safe at all times. You know, and we have enhanced anti-fraud systems in place to detect abnormal behavior, to try and identify suspicious activity, and then we can actually monitor in real time any risks that are posed to us and our clients. Yeah, I think the biggest disadvantages and the biggest issue is around sort of like execution, pricing, and certainly that sort of visibility around order flow. You know, because the Forex market is still predominantly done OTC, over the counter, and it's decentralized. So, you know, prime brokers and those institutions that have, you know, superior pricing, they have superior speed of execution, and they have better visibility to order flow than retail traders have. And that's where that sort of like disadvantageous and that imbalance has become. You know, and if we see sort of like this data latency or this sort of like the rejection of orders, which although subtle can sort of create some real issues for the end trader through sort of like poor execution, poor fills, or slippage, or sort of like the needing of requotes. And because it's very subtle, it can lead to being very hard to detect. And therefore the end trader, the retail trader, ends up being in a really disadvantageous and can be quite a damaging position for them. How do we address it here at VT Markets? Well, look, we do it through fair execution practices. We do it through regulatory governance. We make sure that all client orders are processed and sent through top-tier liquidity providers without going through dealing desks, so that there's no conflicts of interest, and it ensures fair market pricing. So we have real-time execution data. We have order fill reports, which are sent to the client so they can see exactly how their trades are executed and when. And then we're transparent, and we're open and communicate with the clients exactly what the trading costs and the spreads are, so that they have the most transparent information available to them, and then they have the most level trading environment as well for them to trade in. And we provide transparent access to global markets with a competitive fee structure of $0 depending on what account you choose to open with us. Yeah, AI is a big thing at the moment, and I think obviously it's going to change the way that we do things, not just in the Forex industry, but globally as well. But I think in terms of the Forex industry, I think that's where the biggest breakthroughs are going to come, through sort of like technology, and therefore sort of like transparency and sort of like investor protection. And as I said earlier on, like a large amounts of the Forex industry and the Forex market is still conducted OTC. So I think, if we see sort of like blockchain-based reporting, or sort of like AI data analytics, which can sort of like identify issues and concerns and suspicious behavior before in real time, I think that's going to be a real benefit to the Forex industry. It can do real-time trade monitoring, it can look for market abuse, it can do sort of like real-time data and analyzing reporting to be able to pick up anomalies in the markets before it actually gets to harm the client. And this can sort of like really revolutionize sort of that area of the market that we face. And this in turn can help regulators build a more level playing field for the market participants. Yeah, I think personally I want to see sort of those individuals and those companies stand out that, show integrity into the market and really help boost transparency and education through the market. I want to see like a real positive impact on the trading community. It's not just about sort of like technical results are great, being profitable and stuff is great, but it's not just about the technical short-term profitability. It's about the long-term integrity of the financial markets. And I think the ones that are going to stand out are going to be the ones that combine that sort of technical ability and then combine that with like an ethical approach, combine it with like discipline and transparency, and then, take that even further and, educate others and just sort of like build a much more trustworthy environment and a much more trustworthy marketplace. And then finally, I think those innovators, the ones that are creating platforms and creating things to really help educate traders and provide smarter risk management tools, better education platforms to really pass knowledge into the marketplace, and just provide a better environment for people to come, learn, be more transparent, and just provide a better structure for all traders that's like much more ethical, much more trustworthy, and levels that playing field. So innovators that utilize AI and the tools that it's available through sort of like smarter risk management techniques, smarter analytical tools to really help and level the playing field, and do it in a way that structures the market and sort of like in an ethical way. Yeah, look, I think absolutely. As I said earlier on, the Forex market still faces challenges because it's still largely a lot of there's a huge volume that still is sort of like OTC and decentralized. So by promoting ethical practices, by promoting transparency, this and by recognizing those things, that in turn is going to build this sort of like this environment where people are going to want to perform those practices and be recognized to be performing those practices. But in turn, recognition sort of encourages others to do the same, right? Because everyone wants to be, when you sort of recognize and are rewarded for sort of good ethical practices and that, then I think it's going to build an environment and a culture that everyone wants to be in part of. And so I think it can only boost and help that side of things for sure, absolutely. I think it's going to help raise collective standards across the industry. I think for too long we've been focused on sort of like trading volumes and profitability, and I think the award just sort of shifts that narrative a little bit. That it's going to recognise those that are innovators, that promote those ethical standards, that promote transparency, that promote all of these sorts of there's things that are going to benefit the financial markets in the long run. All of these best practices can only enhance the image of the market. It can only enhance. So by shifting the narrative from that focus on sort of like volumes and profitability to sort of more ethical behaviors, and actually recognizing that in the public domain, I think is going to really, like I say, help raise those collective standards across the board and across the markets. And I think maybe even more importantly, when sort of brokers see that these best practices are being recognized and becoming more standard, they're going to invest more into sort of compliance and client reporting and those sorts of things. That is going to then create like a healthier competition, rather than investing that money in sort of like trying for more aggressive growth. They're going to focus on the things that are going to enhance and promote these sort of best practices and the environment that you're going to try and create. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy in terms of like, you recognize it, therefore people want to be part of that, therefore they're going to invest more money in it, and then just alone that is going to then raise the standards across the board and create more competition in those areas as well. I think, look, my suggestion for participants is not to sort of see this as like an award and just as an award and a competition, but see it as an opportunity to set the standards for the industry, so set the standards across the market and set the standards for that going forward. So I think that would be like my suggestion. But what I'm really looking for as a judge is like not just those technical abilities. Obviously that's great, but it's combining those technical successes with those sort of like innovation, with trying to add to the wider trading community, to the wider Forex community, making sure that we promote responsible risk management processes, making sure that people are aware of the risks, maybe through education, but actually starting with ourselves and demonstrating correct and responsible risk practices. So yeah, whether it's traders or brokers or fintech companies, I think it's looking for people that take that sort of like that not just looking for profitability, but combine that with ethical practices, and then use that data to sort of like improve client outcomes. I think that's a really important thing to be focused on and to be looking at for this award. Yeah, I think it has a crucial role to play. I think through its independent broker reviews and verifications, through its like real-time risk assessments, it really sort of empowers traders and gives to traders the information to be able to base their decisions and make more informed decisions when they're coming into the market, rather than going off their own back, and that when there's a wide variety to choose from. It's trying to give them the right information through the tools that WikiFX provide, which allows them to make more informed decisions, which again will protect them in the long run. And I think that is really important, having that information available to them, because again, going back to that thing, it's a decentralized marketplace where broker and sort of like certainly regulatory risks can be quite fragmented. So having a place where traders can come to find that data, find that information, and make those informed decisions based on independent and verified reviews and data-backed reviews, giving them that information, I think is vital and a crucial role that it can really play. Yeah, it adds substantial value. I mean, again, having that marketplace or that place that traders can go to analyze like the regulatory ratings, analyze and get the information around sort of like the broker and the broker verification. It really gives the trader the tools to be able to, and the information to be able to make informed decisions about and making sure that their funds are protected and they are protected, and that the right regulatory approvals are in place before they sign up to a broker. And they can make sure that trading platform is properly licensed and regulated as well, which is vital. You know, we need as traders to be to have our funds protected. You know, there are many risks available and open to us in the marketplace alone. Like we need to protect ourselves in every position possible, and so having a place where we can actually look and see the data and analyze these brokers and make sure they're properly licensed, make sure our funds are protected, make sure they're properly regulated, it really adds substantial value. Because, you know, actually one of the biggest sources of investor loss in the Forex industry is traders using unregulated brokers and losing their capital through that. So having a place where, you know, you have real-time updates to regulatory changes, you know, and having this information available to traders so that they can react to that and have that information available to them, so they can mitigate this risk as much as possible. Again, like I say, it adds real value to the traders. Also, you know, as traders, having been in the markets for many years, I know that sort of like one of the biggest issues that traders face is making sort of emotional decisions, or decisions based on emotions. Whereas, again, through the services that they provide, you know, it's much more data backed. So it's you know, when things are more data driven, you know, it takes the emotion out, so you can make much more informed decisions from a more rational point of view. Yeah, and then through, like, its AI technology and platforms, it can like identify unusual broker behavior, hopefully therefore identifying operational risks early for traders, so that they're aware and they can react more in real time, rather than having to be reactive after the event. They can be proactive and actually like react to that in real time before harm comes to them. And it just creates like an environment of being aware, you know, aware of what's going on around them, aware of what is happening in real time, and therefore that just helps like promote this sort of like market resilience for the long term, and long-term best ethical practices as well.